Welcome back to Godless and Grounded. Imagine someone walking up to you on the street and saying, "We have a leader who is chosen by a higher power. You must obey him without question. If you disagree, you're wrong, and if you leave, you will be punished forever." Most people would immediately think, that sounds like a cult. And yet, if the person was wearing religious robes and quoting a holy book, suddenly many people would say, "Oh, that's just faith." But why? What makes the exact same behavior be called a dangerous cult in one situation and a respected religion in another? Is it really about truth, or is it just about branding? When we look at how cults work, certain patterns appear again and again. They demand total obedience to a leader or group of leaders. They use fear to control their members. They discourage questions, and they often isolate followers from outside influences. Now take those same points and compare them to how mainstream religions operate, and you'll notice something uncomfortable. They're almost identical. The only real difference is scale, age, and public acceptance. A cult with a few hundred followers is called dangerous. A religion with millions is called holy. Think about the role of unquestioned authority. In cults, the leader's word is absolute. They might claim special access to truth, divine visions, or some unique power. In mainstream religions, you have priests, imams, rabbis, popes, or prophets who claim that their authority comes directly from God. The idea is the same. You cannot challenge them without challenging the ultimate source of truth. And if you do, you're not just wrong. You're sinful, heretical, or damned. The method of control is identical. Obedience, not because it makes sense, but because you're told it's the will of a higher power. Fear is another tool both use with remarkable efficiency. In cults, you're told that leaving the group will bring disaster. You'll lose your family, your friends, your safety. In many religions, the fear is eternal. Disobey God, and you risk burning forever in hell. Even the idea of questioning can be framed as dangerous. In some belief systems, merely doubting is itself a sin that needs forgiveness. When fear is the foundation of your loyalty, you're not freely choosing your beliefs, you're trapped in them. Another clear parallel is the way both cults and religions control information. Cult leaders don't want you reading critical material, listening to outsiders, or thinking for yourself. Many mainstream religions have historically done the same. For centuries, the Catholic Church kept the Bible in Latin, so ordinary people couldn't read it. In Islam, many are taught not to read certain interpretations or engage with secular philosophy. In other faiths, questioning the official story is met with social rejection or even violence. This isn't a coincidence, it's the same strategy. If your ideas can't survive open debate, you have to protect them from scrutiny. Then there's the strong group identity. Cults often give members special clothing, phrases, or rituals to make them feel set apart from the world. Religions do this on a massive scale. Special garments, dietary rules, symbolic jewelry, specific prayers at specific times. This isn't just tradition. It's a way to reinforce the idea that you're part of something unique, something chosen. Psychologists call this in-group, out-group bias, and it makes leaving incredibly hard. If all your friends, family, and community share your belief system, rejecting it means losing your social world. That's as true in a small cult as it is in a global religion. Money and power also play a suspiciously similar role. Many cults require members to give a percentage of their income to the group, often called tithes or offerings. Mainstream religions have perfected this. Entire empires were built on church taxes, donations, and wealth extracted from believers. The Vatican is one of the richest institutions in the world. Televangelists live in mansions paid for by followers who often can barely pay their own bills. The pattern is consistent. Money flows upward to those in power, justified as serving God. One major difference people point to is that religions often have charitable work, schools, and hospitals, while cults don't. But even this isn't a clean distinction. Many cults do humanitarian work too, often as a way to recruit new members or improve their public image. Religious charities are sometimes deeply tied to conversion efforts. When aid is conditional on accepting certain beliefs, it becomes less about kindness and more about marketing the brand. History gives us plenty of examples of how religion started in ways that look exactly like cult beginnings. Christianity began as a small, radical Jewish sect following a charismatic leader. Islam started with one man claiming revelations in a cave, gathering followers who faced persecution from the mainstream culture of the time. If either had died out early, historians today might write about them the way we write about Jonestown or Heaven's Gate: strange, dangerous, and delusional. The only difference is that they survived, grew, and eventually became the dominant cultural force in their regions. Language plays a huge role in how we perceive this. Cults are what we call the groups we fear or disapprove of. Religions are the ones our parents belong to, or that have shaped our laws and culture. But the core behaviors, absolute obedience, fear-based control, isolation from outsiders, unquestioned leadership, are shared. If a cult gets big enough, lives long enough, and gains enough political power, it gets rebranded as a religion. This rebranding gives it social respectability, legal protection, and influence over education and politics. Even the idea of sacred texts plays into this parallel. In cults, the leader might write a book or record teachings that are treated as infallible. Followers are told the words are perfect, even if they contain contradictions. In religions, holy books are treated the same way, perfect, even when they say things that are clearly outdated or morally questionable. When errors are pointed out, followers are told they're misinterpreting or lacking faith. This is another shared mechanism. The book is never wrong. You are. Cults and religions both rely heavily on rituals. Psychologists know that repeated, shared rituals strengthen group identity and reduce critical thinking. Whether it's chanting, singing, kneeling, or reciting specific phrases, these actions put people in a more emotional, less analytical state of mind. That's why they work so well at reinforcing belief. It's not that rituals are inherently bad, humans use them everywhere, but when they're tied to obedience and fear, they become tools of control. The biggest myth protecting religion from being seen as a branded cult is that it's about truth. But truth doesn't need to fear questions. Truth doesn't punish you for leaving. Truth doesn't require obedience to a leader who claims divine authority. Truth doesn't need to control your reading list or tell you who you can and can't associate with. Those are the behaviors of systems trying to survive, not systems trying to enlighten. It's worth noting that not all religious individuals behave like cult members. Many believers are kind, thoughtful people who ignore the controlling aspects of their faith and focus on the parts that inspire them. But the structure of the institution itself, the hierarchy, the rules, the fear, mirrors cult dynamics so closely that the comparison is hard to avoid. If we stripped away the branding, the history, and the cultural acceptance and just looked at the mechanics, we might start calling things by their real names. A system that demands unquestioned loyalty, enforces obedience through fear, discourages independent thought, controls information, and isolates its members is a cult, whether it has 100 members or 100 million. The size doesn't change the core. The age doesn't make it less controlling. The fancy buildings and ancient rituals don't erase the fact that it's using the same psychological levers to keep people inside. So maybe the question isn't, is religion just a branded cult? Maybe the more honest question is, how many cult-like systems have we mistaken for truth simply because they've been around long enough to seem normal? The human mind is great at normalizing whatever we grow up with. We can see manipulation clearly when it's in a small, strange group, but we're often blind to it when it's woven into our culture. The challenge, then, is to apply the same critical lens to the familiar as we do to the unfamiliar. In the end, the label doesn't matter as much as the effect. If something limits your freedom to think, scares you into obedience, and claims ownership over your life in the name of a higher power, it doesn't deserve blind respect. Whether you call it a cult or a religion, the mechanism is the same. And the first step to breaking free from any controlling system is the courage to see it for what it is, no matter how it's been branded.